So today on the slides, first of all, we have Michael and we have Ganesh. And Abhijit, unfortunately, is not joining today. But Michael, why don't you give a 1-minute intro to the viewers of yourself?
Sure. Thank you. My name is Michael Hom. I am the head of financial services solution at InterSystems. I have about 25 plus years of experience in investment banking, building various systems from low latency trading systems to highly performant analytical compute platforms to front to back asset management systems. At InterSystems, we help customers with their data-driven needs by providing a rich set of technology services along with business-specific solutions. So thank you for having me.
So diving into the first question, and maybe Michael, it might be worth going to you first. I mean, you look at data. You can't do personalization without data, but particularly in financial advice. What's your thoughts on how that has changed the industry?
So I think there's a plethora of rich and relevant content and services like Bamboos. And I think that's very promising. I think it's, along with the augmented customer interaction that comes with it, it's now able to provide these services to a larger and wider set of customers, which is honestly fantastic, right? I think just imagine having the appropriate advice, how you want it, when you want it, where you want it, for everyone. I think that is great for the customer, right? But I also will take a different spin on that. I think it's also an opportunity to help solve some of the greatest divides that we have. First, it's by providing this personalized and continual education, in this case, financial knowledge, really helps with another divide, which is that wealth divide. And I think that combination of hyper-personalization allows to kind of really tackle or take on those things. And I think it's very promising as we move forward. I think, we talk about personalized financial education. I think that's one thing that really helps us all. I think, imagine if you were trying to contemplate to buy a house. It's a daunting task, right? You would want someone who's an expert right next to you. Imagine if you actually had one, right? Help you understand how the mortgage works, right? Do you need one? Would you like to see some rates, right? You have some money that you saved. Do you know what to do with it, right? How can I build on that wealth? And I think that's very empowering overall. And making that available to a wider set of people is, I think, for me, it's a nice path into the future. I think you mentioned the increased usage of data. I think that's apparent, right? To have personalization, you need that. And I think most companies have embarked on their digital transformation, which includes a data strategy. And I think that's going to be a large differentiator as you move forward. Those who haven't, need to accelerate, in my personal opinion. But then the last comment I'll make, on my thoughts is that we do need to probably overcome a little trust and privacy concerns, right? I think to make this all work, and I think it's, as I mentioned, very good for the customer. I think there are some barriers, there's some things that we kind of have to forge forward on. And I think, unfortunately, regulation might help there, right? To create a safe structure with some checks and controls that allow for a wider set of usage.
Michael, you do a lot of work in terms of implementing this with clients. How does it, I think we all agree, should we have better personalized financial advice? Yes. How does it actually work?
No, I mean, you're 100% right. Are we there yet? No, I think we're getting there. I think, as Ganesh said, in the next 3 to 5 years, it's going to proliferate, which is fantastic. Again, for the consumer, right? In my eyes, how I see this kind of potentially looking like in the future. Just imagine if you had a personalized 24/7 financial advisor with you. I'm not saying you sits on your shoulder, right? But imagine if it's always on, always with you, whenever, wherever, however you want it, right? Like being able to help you with events. Like if you're going to buy, your give you advice on the impact of your past decisions, right? So for example, like Ned decided that he didn't want to buy a Tesla six months ago, right? Well, with that savings and investing in the market, you made 78% on it. And just giving you that advice over the day, over the time, just starts to educate you about what is the impact of your decision, your financial decisions, right? Obviously then, moving from the past to the present, imagine if it was able to give you options or recommendations on your current decisions at the moment, right? So again, taking that example, um, say that you wanted to buy a red Ferrari. um, they could tell you the estimated expenses, your estimated monthly expenses with this added payment, right? It could say, hey, what if you didn't buy it, you could retire 10 years earlier. Or maybe it gives you an indication or reminds you that, hey, your children are going to college, tuition's coming in 5 years, you might want to save, right? Or, I mean, if you're dead set on buying that Ferrari, tells you the best auto loans rates to get, right? Like, it's just imagine if it's just always with you and telling you, giving you advice. I think that is very empowering for a lot of people. And then moving to the future, right? Like, say Ned wants to fly to the moon, right? It's going to cost you some serious dying. Okay, like I heard some of the rates from SpaceX and so forth. Like maybe it advised you, hey, Ned, maybe you skip on that third yacht. Don't buy that. You'll be that much closer to your goal in the next 5 years, right? To fly to the moon, right? Like I'm being a little facetious there, or maybe not with Ned, right? But like, just imagine if you had that with you. Like, I think we see some of it now, right? With Alexa, with Netflix, Amazon, even like Garmin Health, right? Like it tells you, gives you insights as it's collecting all your data, looking at your data, try and provide some relevant metrics to either motivate you in a particular direction toward your goals, right? Or just giving you customized recommendations, right? I think that in that form, you can also apply that to financial.
Michael, your company deals with data. Obviously, it's going to change the whole industry. How do you see the next years playing out?
Yeah, I guess as broad strokes over the next 5 years, um, I think open banking is going to help as it advances globally. I think that's going to help make data available to more, hopefully in a safe manner. Like I think there needs to be a lot more regulation and constructs. So unfortunately, sorry, right? That's just my opinion. But I think that helps us, consumer and the overall kind of market itself. Like I think there's a lot of trust, privacy, security issues that just needs to be as a baseline that needs to happen to allow us to advance to the next stage. I think having data on one side and then having the services on the other, that's where we play, right? Where we help on both sides, right? We help bridge that gap. From a consumer standpoint, we talked about it, right? Vastly improved service for all, leveling, empowerment. I think there's going to be a massive diversification of services. So you can actually point, it's exploding now. And I think in the next 5 years, it's just going to continue. I think the sophistication will also improve, right? Like Ned's Bamboo Robo Advisor. I think in 6 months it's going to be that much better. In a year, it's going to be that much better. And I think it's just going to be great as we move forward, right? I love the app, right? I love the ability. I love the service it provides. And we talked about smoothly integrating and embedding into the fabric of our lives. Like I talk about that. Will it happen in the next 5 years? It depends on how fast we accelerate. Like
Exactly.
I am very optimistic on Net, right? Because that service, you got in at the right time. You're moving that forward. You have a head start on everyone else. And that's just driving people to do better. and I love it, right? Like I really think that that's great for consumer. From an institutional standpoint, I think we still need a lot more automation. I don't think we're there yet. But a lot of people are more digitally focused, more data driven, which is the right direction. Like everyone's on their transformation strategy, their data strategy, and so forth. And I think with that, we talked about this more diversified, augmented customer interaction, right? You guys mentioned like the millennials. I'll pick on them. They're just a different breed. They're much more tech savvy. They just want things in a different form, and God bless them, right? You want it to be online. You want your advice to be texted to you. Great. A human doesn't have to. But I think you need that gamut. In my personal opinion, I think you need a gamut of abilities, human interaction to fully digital. Because on certain events, you're not gonna feel comfortable coming back to that trust. You want to talk to someone. Am I doing the right thing? Well, I don't know. I think that still needs to kind of advance. But I do see a gamut of interactions, right? I think it's be heavily weighted toward the digital one. So that's where the robo advisors will be like really, accelerate and take on most of it. The last point I'll make is I think the industry is going to change in the next 5 years, right? And this is just my take. I think there's going to be folks that are going to be aggregators. There's going to be folks that are service providers, and there's going to be folks that are data providers. And I think that's just going to be, in my humble opinion, of how the world's going to start shifting, right? And you're most likely going to be one of those, because I think it's just all the competition that we have. You're either going to be data or service or a nexus of the two.